Twittercito.
Because we're also joining on LinkedIn on this other screen, and we are on Instagram here. So today, guys, we're going to answer any questions regarding to how to improve the way that we get more information, how do we consume information, the way that we process that information and get that into knowledge, the way that we remember things, and also how to practice that kind of stuff. So well, let's start. Let's see if we are live on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Sorry, are we live on LinkedIn?
Hello, everybody. We are live.
Cool. Pablo is helping me there on LinkedIn. So you guys will let me know how is that going. And also we have the UBX team, Pablo and Eddie, with me in case there are more answers or more questions. And they will also post their own answers. So guys, feel free to ask any questions. What I was thinking about doing is, well, there is this model of effective learning called the learning cycle. This is an optimal learning model. And what does that mean? Let's go one step before. That means that education is on one side and learning is in the other side, okay? Two different things between what's education and what is learning. So I would like to ask you guys if you know what is the difference between education and learning. Anyone knows? Let me know there in the chat. Let's go there. What is education and what is learning? Let's see. Can anyone tell me what is your difference between education and learning? Let's see. On LinkedIn and also here on Instagram. Anyone? Cool. Beto, let me know what is the difference between education and learning. Okay. So there you go. Let's see. Education is the way to induce, to convey, to transform, to pass on information from one person or one organization to another person. Okay? We get educated. That is the reason we go to school. Schooling is one way to fulfill this education model, right? So education is receiving knowledge. It's receiving knowledge. On the opposite hand, learning is gaining knowledge. Two very different things. Remember that, guys. Education is not the same as learning. But unfortunately, many people confuse both of them, thinking that education and learning are the same. Education can finish usually when we are done with university and we have a degree, for example. Okay? But learning is a lifelong process. So that is the reason we say lifelong learners. And we don't say lifelong educationers or something like that, right? So lifelong learning is a path that happens all the time, not only when we go to school, not only when we go to university. And there, Roku Daime says, learning is not formal. Education has a plan. Good point. Thank you for that, Beto. That's perfect. And now there is something that I wanted to ask you guys. What is the memory that comes to you when you remember school or college? What's the memory? What's the emotion? What's the feeling that comes, that gets attached to when I say school or university? Let me know what's your emotion.
Frustration.
Let's see.
Stress.
Lotse, what is the feeling that you have when
Mhm.
I say university or college? What's the memory and the feeling that comes with it? Also here in LinkedIn, let me know, guys, because those are components that we will use in order to put more emphasis on the learning cycle, which is this learning framework that we're going to talk about briefly and answer questions around it. So let's see here, people on LinkedIn. What is the difference? Or sorry, what brings to your mind the words school or university? Let's say, were you at some point? Did you like it? Was it super fun? Did you hate it? Or were you not happy to wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. to go to the classroom when you were trying to sleep, right? And maybe the teacher was in front of you begging you to open your eyes to read something. Maybe, or maybe you were super happy, super stoked to jump into the class and just ask questions and absorb. What was your feeling, guys? Here on LinkedIn, what do we have here? Pablo and Eddie, what is your emotion there?
Stress.
Yes, my emotion is frustrations.
Wait a second. Can you repeat that, please?
And for me, it's frustration.
Frustration. Nice. Pablo?
For me, it's stress. Really stress.
Stress. Wow. Eddie, can you elaborate on frustration, please?
Yeah, no, because when I try to study or understand some lessons in school, I can do it because my teachers, there are no, I don't know, good teachers, but I can understand the meaning of things that I trying to learn in the school. That's frustrate for me.
Okay, got it. So the frustration for the guys in Instagram usually comes for some people, like for Eddie, when they were trying to understand something, but it was not that simple. Not because people are dumb, that's not the case, but most of the times it is because we're trying to learn in a way that does not fit our learning style. For example, if I'm someone who learns through listening, if you give me images, that is not going to work very well. Or on the opposite hand, right? If I'm someone who learns visually, if you come and lecture me, that's not gonna work either, right? Let's see what Lotse says. Lotse, thanks. He says, I loved university. I had a great professors. The negative is that not all of the professors were great. Sometimes I felt that I would learn faster by reading because professors would not add value. That's great. Thanks, Lotse. That's great insight. So what I'm trying to do, guys, if you noticed, is I'm trying to collect a survey of information of what were our different emotions associated to school or university. Like in the case of Eddie, frustration. In the case of Lotse, loved it. She loved the university, but also had sometimes it was harder or she wanted to go faster. So that means that there was like, I would like to do more than this. And maybe a little bit of anxiety in that sense. And I can feel that likewise. Sometimes I had teachers that were great or professors in university, but I knew that I wanted more. I had to go do it my own way sometimes, right?
Have
So
a good professor or teacher. Sometimes is like lottery, no? Like
now
both.
it's lottery, yeah. And we're going to talk about that also in the law of 33%, which is one of the videos that are coming up next in the in the videos that we're posting. So, okay, let's start talking about this, guys. So there are so many different feelings, emotions attached to the concept of school or university. And those two concepts are on the educational category. But what it happens is that the majority of the people, they confuse education with learning. And like we said, and let me also read what Rocco Daimi said, learning is not formal. Education has a plan. And also, learning is a lifelong process. Education may finish when we have a degree or we decide to quit school or university, right? So one of the first things that we need to understand in order to improve the way that we learn is that our emotional attachment to learning has to be optimal. If we think that education is so much effort and so many extra hours, do you ever let me know there with a like or a wave? It's like, oh my god, why do I need to learn this thing? Right? That creates some friction in our educational or in our learning process, I should say. But on the flip side, remember, guys, a time that you were super curious about something. Maybe it was sport. Maybe it was a oh, you guys wanted to learn a new language, or someone wanted to play an instrument, or someone simply said, oh, "Okay, this concept sounds so cool. I'm gonna go Google it right now." You have no friction on that, right? You just dove into the topic that you wanted to learn. So that is a different emotional association. Like I said, maybe at some point we have associated frustration, anxiety to the educational process, formal education process. But if we are able to associate positive feelings to the learning process itself, things are gonna go in very different and opposite sides of the spectrum. So far, are you guys with me? Let me see. Let me know likes. What do you guys think? I'm reading also your comments. I love them. Thank you for that. Let me know. Are we guys so far good? Pablo, Eddie?
Yeah. Oh, fine.
Everything okay.
Okay. So now let's start getting hands-on into how to improve the way that we learn. First, did anyone experience distractions, constant distractions? Like something happens and you're simply focused on something, and there is this butterfly that comes, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And the
Yeah.
squirrel might take place, and you are two, three different times away in a different dimension, right? That is normal, but that does not mean that that is ADHD, or I think in Spanish it's
Mhm.
called TDA. It's trastorno de desorden de atención, or something like that. Um, I'm not saying that that is not the case, but what I'm saying is I don't think that we had ADHD before cell phones or before social media. So there may be some kind of correlation there in how much we use those tools and how distracted we are with all the notifications, with all the FOMO, fear of missing out of what something is posting, what someone is posting something, or what's happening on the other side of the planet, or what's happening with this pandemic or the next pandemic, right? So going back to the attentional deficit, what happens if instead of attentional deficit is the point is that we're not fostering, we're not watering, we're not exercising our attention in the first place? Could that be possible? Let me know. What do you guys think? Does anyone have problems with attention? So how often do you lose track of what you guys are doing? How often do you get distracted by the bright shiny objects in the internet or maybe outside?
Mhm.
I haven't counted them, but I guess that maybe 10 of or 20 times in a day. No?
I would say more than 20. At least myself, it is more than that. Now, I'm not suggesting that, oh, we're in fault and there's a problem with us. No, no, no. I'm saying this. If we're not exercising the attention muscle, we're actually exercising the distraction muscle, right? It's either one, attention muscle or distraction muscle.
Mhm.
And it depends on us which one do we want to exercise. By default, if we do nothing, we're exercising distraction.
Mm.
Right now, you guys are with me completely focused. We're right now just getting into something that is important. So
Hey, JJ, we have a comment in YouTube, Adrian Mancilla. Mostly when I was reading something that I have to study, but it feels so bored.
true. Okay, boredom, it is very common. So think about education again, the school or the class at university, that it was so damn boring and you had to go and attend the class, right? The teacher was so boring. Personally, I wanted to shoot myself twice just in case. So there are ways now. Let's start talking about how to consume information. And let's start from Adrian's comment. Very right, Adrian. There are some things that are simply damn boring, but the format can change and that makes it or less boring or super entertaining. Let me give you an example of this. Let's think about that we are reading a book on history, and the book is super dense and the book is super technical. Okay, and it has those very thick words, very difficult phrases to understand. Maybe the book is great, but maybe it's not good fit for me. What would happen if I can find exactly the same information in a YouTube video with cartoons, right? So first thing, we could find that there on a maybe a channel from even TEDx, National Geo, Nat Geo, or any of those ones that are far more entertaining, not simply boring, but entertaining, and we can learn from that. They're called entertainment and education, right? That's what they're called, but mixing both of them. The other one are podcasts, exactly same information about history, but from a completely different perspective. And there's plenty of podcasts on history that are super fun to listen. If anyone can suggest any of those podcasts, super happy to hear them here. So thank you for the comment, Adrian. Sometimes we get distracted when things are super boring. But likewise, or let's talk about the opposite. When things are completely brand new and we're jumping from one to the other one, is equally as damaging. Which means that think about all the notifications that we have in our phone, right?
Mm.
So notification means dopamine trigger, dopamine trigger. So our brain is expecting some kind of novelty that comes out of the notifications, out of the what's happening, out of the who posted something new, like we said before. So either way, if it's too boring and we just pass out and we fall asleep, or it is too distracting, too novel for our brains, and we cannot get focus on something. So that is where not this one, but something in between balanced can help us find that. And like I said, maybe reading the book was too difficult. Maybe watching a 2 minute video on YouTube was too short, or maybe was too much content for something that was not of much value. But if we find something that is in the middle, perfect. So far, are you guys following me? Any comments? Any questions here?
I have a question. In my case, when I try to see some video on YouTube or listen some podcast, I understand. I listen some things, but when I read a book, I understand more deeply the concept. I like to. It's like talk with the author. No,
Right.
you can see what he thinks, some theories or many things. The knowledge is more deeper for me. No, I don't know if you have some, if you have uh, I don't know. What's your opinion about it?
Okay, so for the people on Instagram, Eddie was saying, and correct me, Eddie, you feel more connected with the author when you're reading the book. Okay, is that so far good? And okay,
Yes.
on top of that, what is there any difficulty that you're having with that, or what do you?
No, and in when I read the book, the knowledge is more deeper for me. Uh,
Okay, good.
mhm.
Okay, that means that in Eddie's case, when he reads a book, he feels more connected to the author and to the knowledge. The knowledge sinks deeper. That
Mhm.
means that his way of learning is reading. That's his optimal. That does not mean that is the only one, but that is the one that works better for Eddie. Perfect. Now, what about combining that for brand new books? And this one is called fractal reading, or how our friend Jordi Falguera would say, it is reading through the author's summaries. So I'm talking about books that are come in the last 2-3 decades at most, Eddie. So think about this. If you find the talks of the authors on YouTube, if reading the book, you had a conversation with them
Yeah.
through letters, what would happen listening to them talking to you? That would be interesting. So I would like to know how it feels for you. Have you done that, comparing both of them?
Mhm. Yeah. I like to see the TED talks about authors because they explain all the book in one TED.
Right. So I would suggest to combine both of those ones, not even leaving one for the sake of the other one. Personally, reading books takes a while, right? But the pleasure of reading the book, oof, we cannot compare it with anything else. So it depends on your time frame, how fast you want to learn something, just to speak something like that, and what is your end goal with what you're learning, right? So far, are we guys good? Let me know with a thumbs up or any comments. Let's keep moving on into questions as well.
Well, it depends on the way we best consume information. No? Every content has its mojo or something like that. No?
Right. And let me put another example around how do we absorb information. Think about this, guys. Did any one of you got a COVID vaccine in pills? There are no
Mm,
vaccines that I know that are provided
it
in
is
pills, right? There are
unusual.
no vaccines. So that means that we need to get an IV for the vaccine. That means that that is the optimal way that our bodies are going to get the vaccination. I'm not talking about if the vaccine works or not, that's different. But that is an example of how we can find different ways to absorb information, like in our bodies. This thing, COVID vaccine comes in IV, and there is no pill. Maybe there is one pill at some point, and you can find, for example, in for the common flu or cold, you can find your infusion when you have the antibiotics in, or I don't know, in powder, and you just mix it with your tea, or you get your pop-up pill, or you get a vaccine, right? So think about which one works better for you and start with that one first. No one knowing that that works for you instead of someone telling you what to do in the first place. Are we so far good, guys? Good?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so let's keep talking about how to ingest information. And that is this. Um, there are several formats and several types. So there are formats, right? Podcasts, podcast audio. And that is super nice because you can listen to a podcast when you are doing your daily tasks at home, cleaning home, taking a shower, or when you're commuting, you're driving from point A to point B. So that is perfect timing to use those podcasts. Podcast, for the ones that don't know what a podcast is basically a short episode of whether an interview or a short show that it comes in audio. Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Completely audio. Personally, I use them for my favorite podcasts that I have around metacognition, learning, and stuff like that. Second one, the classic one, obviously books. But now books are not simply in paper, right? You can have also the Kindle books or the electronic books. Now, many people will tell me, oh, but those are not real books, right? Which is true. But at the end of the day, the question is, what do you want? Do you want to have paper or do you want to get knowledge?
Now,
And if you can have both, cool, that's good for you. If you can, yeah, you can go. There is Eddie with his book. Cool.
And what about audiobooks? That's
Audiobooks
so
are
different.
a combination between podcasts and books.
Books.
So in my case, let me explain. My case, this is only my case, guys. For me, an audiobook on non-fiction books does not work for me specifically because I'm trying to process something that is at some point dense information, and my mind is not able to just focus on that and try to do what I'm doing. Well, trying to consume the information. That is a waste of my time, literally a waste of my time. But there is an exception. If I am listening to novels on audiobook, my mind flies. Imagination takes over and it is amazing. So for you guys, which one works better? An audiobook for novels, stories, or an audiobook for non-fiction books? Let me see. Which one works for you?
I can't listen audiobooks because it's so distracting for me. I don't know why. My- I want to try to listen more audiobooks but now it's so distracted.
Okay, so for Eddie, it does not work. For you, Pablo, which one works?
Reading. Reading works with me.
Nice. So that's okay. There are no right or wrongs. Something
Yeah.
that works fine for one, for each one needs to get practice. But now
It's a path of discovery, no?
it's a part of discovery. Exactly. So that's my point. Start experimenting with different types of information consumption. Let's try audiobooks. Let's try for one book. Let's see one book if we can digest it, if we find pleasure in doing it. Or let's try two books, or let's try for 2 weeks. If it does not work, we throw that experiment. We have not wasted more time. What about this other way? So we've done books, the normal books. We've seen podcasts. What about YouTube talks, right? Or YouTube book summaries. What about that one? Have you guys tried that one?
Yeah,
That's
book
for you,
summaries is like
Edison.
yeah, it's book movement.
Book movement.
No, book summaries is good for me because it's like let's take a coffee with something and talk about the book, the author, or some ideas. This is for me the summary of a book or some material in the YouTube. No, yeah, but I like this kind of videos in YouTube.
Nice. Perfect. And that is good. Thank you, Eddie, for that, because many people, including myself for years, I was so much into the idea that I have to read a book from cover to cover, right? No, I have to read
Mhm.
from the first page to the last page, even the indexes, even the, whatever, even the price of the book, I need to read it.
Mhm.
Cool. It worked, but until it not did not work anymore.
Mhm.
So think about this, guys. In a nonfiction book, I'm talking about nonfiction books. I'm not talking about every single book. So nonfiction books, nonfiction books, what they do is if I am the author of a book and I may get 1 or 2 pages with the gist, the essence of the book, that's not gonna sell. I have to get 100, 150 pages of something that distribute that knowledge, and then I can sell this thing called a book, right? So when we're reading a nonfiction book, we are trying to get the golden nuggets extracted from that information, from that piece of information that we call book, I should say. And now, in book summaries, like what Eddie mentioned, book summaries are great because we're getting the gist back to us, and that's saving us a lot of time. That is saving us a lot of time, guys. Adrian says book summaries help to understand some missing information. Very true. Very true. The missing pieces or things that we really want to remember from the entire book, they are worth watching book summaries, or even I would suggest services like Blinkist or 12 minutes, 12 minutos in Spanish. Those are summaries of books that get the gist in audio. And also, I would suggest Flash Libros by Euge Oller.
Mhm.
I
And
don't know if
big
we
and
put. Well, sorry, what was that?
big.
Big. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. I didn't know that. So if we can put that later on the chat or let us know, those are summaries, not only with audio and with infographics, which is the next topic format, but also with practical part. So far, are we guys good? We've seen books, normal books or digital books. We've seen podcasts. We've seen summaries. What else? What else do you guys read? Hi Benji there. There's Benji there. Okay. So that's how we can optimize the way that we improve our consumption. Thank you, Pablo. There is big underscore IO. Those kind of systems or services give you a summary of books. I personally use Blinkist once in a while. Nice. Okay. Okay. Questions, comments so far, guys? Oh yeah, if you guys want to check another source, good source of summaries, go to bookmovement.co. Bookmovement.co. Hey Benji. So check that one as well. Eddie and Pablo run that show, and it's super good to summarize that book, the summaries of books there. Okay, that is consumption, and I think we can go over one more. Is that okay, guys? If we go from consumption to consolidation, are we good? So
Yeah.
we're not going to go today over the entire learning cycle, the framework, but we're going to touch 2 points. And please throw up your questions, guys. We're more than happy to answer them during this presentation or even later if you guys want. So consolidation, what does that mean? If you have heard me in the past, I use a lot the metaphor of protein. Right? So what is JJ the heck talking about, right? Here in the US, when you go to a restaurant and you're seeing the menu, you will read something that says, pick your protein. Escoge tu proteína. And you say, what the heck is that? And the options that you have there are beef, pork, chicken, right? And I said, well, wait a second. Protein is not a synonym for them. But guess what? They use it as a synonym. It's like if I would say, hey guys, can you pass me that potassium? Can you pass me that potassium? What the heck is JJ talking about? It's talking about a banana, right? It does not happen that way. It does not happen that way. So the point is that, hi Sophie, the point is that many people confuse information with knowledge. And that is a big mistake because we're living in an era of overabundance of information. But like beef or chicken or protein, they do not mean protein. Likewise, potassium does not equal banana. It is one of the components, protein or potassium are one of the components within this wrapper called beef or chicken or banana. So far, are you guys following the metaphor? Hi, Violet. There's Violeta there. Nice. So if you guys following me so far? Eddie Paulo there?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So what it happens is that when we are reading or when we're listening or when we are simply watching an infographics and we're getting some information out of that, it does not mean that we need to remember everything. That will be a waste of time and of space in our mind. So what we need to be very focused on is understanding that we need to extract again the golden nuggets, those little pieces of really important information that we later transform them into knowledge. So going back to the analogy of protein and potassium, right? When we eat beef or chicken, what it happens is that our digestive tract, what it does is decompose the food, the meal that we had, and from there we extract the protein from there. We extract from there the potassium. In our case, that's what our mind needs to do. Once we consume information, we need to get just the important nutrients from that. Now, a personal way to identify those ones are in this way. So Adrian is you got this, cool. So a personal way, my suggestion to prioritize what's important to extract for information are these: find principles that work across different areas or different sources of information. Eddie, what's a principle in investment or crypto investment that you would suggest?
Bitcoin.
No, that is not a principle yet. What's a
Mhm.
principle in cryptocurrencies?
There is no principle, I think.
Yeah, there will be. There will be. So think about this. That's a comment for you. Think about this. So a principle is something that transcends places and sources. So if you have
Mhm.
several authors talking, for example, about digital marketing, the concept of digital marketing, the concept is a
Mhm.
transversal concept. And from there, you can extract another concept called email marketing, another one called content marketing, let's say, or word of mouth marketing, right? So those are concepts, and there are some principles. Like, for example, let me think about marketing. It is you cannot sell something that someone does not need first, or or you create the need, or you find the need and you fulfill the need. That's a principle, and it's a little bit more verbose to explain, right? So far, are you following me? Or the concept in UBX we talk about anti-fragility.
Mhm.
Anti-fragility is a concept. The principle behind anti-fragility it is design your life or your organization or your business to benefit from chaos. That's the principle. Benefit from chaos. The concept is called anti-fragility. Another knowledge, another knowledge piece or golden nugget that I can suggest is finding strategies. So in cryptocurrency, Eddie, you may have found already several strategies for that,
Mhm.
right? Or another one are tactics and techniques. So those ones are worth remembering, are worth first extracting from the things that we're learning. Right now, we were talking about principles. One of the principles that we talked about it is finding the best way to absorb information that each one of us have. That's a principle. It doesn't matter who is watching this live stream. We can find all of that by ourselves, right? Cool. So far, how are you? Are we guys going? I think we can have 5 more minutes and we're good. Any comments?
Questions?
Any
Maybe.
comments?
No,
Nice. Okay.
no questions.
No questions so far. Okay, cool. Nice. I would suggest maybe we can even stop a little bit earlier so that we're not going over. And let's do a recap of three things that we have gone so far. So, first thing, we have talked about the difference between education and learning, and pick your choice, right? Education is formal, it lasts, I would say, shortly, and it is the process where someone gives us information, someone implants information into another person. But that's education. And learning is the process of gaining knowledge through studying or through experience. Yes, Alex is. Let's do a pause there. Alexis Acosta says your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. Great principle. That is a great principle, Alexis. You're right, because we can outsource some of those ideas, or maybe we can hold just the important ones. Because remember that the principles are also memories, are also ideas. So some of them we need to hold them here.
And they connect.
Yeah. So yeah, great. Thank you for that, Alexis. That's great insight. Let's go back. So learning and education. Education formal lasts shortly. Lifelong learning that goes until the end of the times, right? So that's one of them. Then the other one that we were talking about, if you guys can remind me of the second principle that we were talking about.
different ways of consuming information.
Thank you. Different ways of consuming information. So what we said is that every person has a different way to consume information. Like for some people, getting vitamins through pills works. For other ones, it's sublingual, like in my case, or for other ones, it's topic through cream. You have to find your best way to absorb information and use that one not as the only one, but as the main one, and then combine other ones. So far, are we good?
Hmm.
Nice. What is a third concept or a third idea that we would like to hold for this brief talk? What do you guys suggest?
Share information or
If you
share
share
your
information,
knowledge.
yes, and I would suggest there to be actually the extraction of knowledge. Think about this. Not all the information needs to be stored. Not all the information, not all the banana means potassium. In other words,
Exactly.
right?
And
So
Alexis described a principle about that.
correct, a principle about that. Thank you for that, Alexis. So the point was, find within that information that you're consuming what are the most relevant pieces of nutrients that you can extract to later remember and do something with it. Whether they are called principles, they are called strategies, concepts, techniques, methods, those are very important ones. So yeah, so far I think this is a short office hours. Or not that short. It's 48 minutes. Wow.
Mhm.
Well, okay, guys, we'll be doing this for a few more weeks. If you guys have any kind of question, please bring them over, whether it is to office hours, which we would love to answer your questions online in real time and have this interaction, or you can also submit them or send me a message to get to answer your questions. Obviously, I'm not the one that has all the answers, but I know people that will help to answer those questions if I don't have them. And you're going to give me homework, which is great. So I think we're all good, guys. Pablo, Eddie, any last comments?
No, that's
All for
fine.
today.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, LinkedIn. I'll see you soon.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.